Didn't even get to cross.
2023 has been quite a year for me in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of fun, a lot of trials, and a lot of good times. In the time since my last period of uploading videos, I feel as though I've developed quite a bit as a player. I've played a plethora of locals with Sword Soul in 2023, usually making at least top 3. More importantly, however, I attended both the September 30th and the December 2nd Greenville Regionals. I finished 69th, nice, out of 380 players, approximately, on the September 30th Greenville Regional, and 41st out of 286 approximately on December 2nd. Prior to both of these two events, I never really made it past round 6 without being X3. However, at these two regionals, I wasn't X3 until rounds 9 and 8 respectively. I tested for hours and hours and hours for both of these events, and I did feel fairly confident in my deck and myself going into these events. Though, given my track record at regionals in the past, I was skeptical. On the September 30th regional, I won round 1, lost round 2, won round 3, and lost round 4. I then won every round until round 9. I lost game 3 to a Nibiru round 9 that I had a way around but did not see until I made it home that evening. I realized the play at 2 a.m. in that morning. That being said, I was crushed and did not sleep. I had the Tenny line and a Moye but no long one access. I could have forced an early Nibiru by specialing Ashuna, linking into Monk, specialing at Hara, Ashuna effect to summon Vish, sink into Boxia, Boxia effect, pop the Monk, and revive at Hara. If my opponent does not Nibiru here, I make Chao Fang with a light monster, which also happens to be good against Vanadium in general, which is what I was playing against that round 9. However, I did not see that line at the regional, and it cost me my invite. Following the September 30th regional, the deck box began a 9-week Yu-Gi-Oh! League. It was extremely competitive, but I was able to finish the league with 100 points, tying for first with Andrew, the Flu player that has been on the channel multiple times before. We had a best of 5 to settle the tie, which he took 3-1. Boy, I sure heckin' love Dimension Shifter. However, second place prizing was still solid. A box of Rarity Collection, a Cloth Dark Magician Girl playmat, sleeves, and a really cool 3-pocket deck box. I ultimately finished second out of 31 participants. The following week was the December 2nd Greenville Regional. I started off 4-0, losing to Centurion, Rescue Ace, and Unchained in rounds 5, 7, and 8 respectively. My round 8, I lost the die roll to Unchained, couldn't break the board, and conceded. Game 2, I had a long yawn in hand, so I made a Barone with a 10 yawn board, so I thought I was safe from Nibiru. My opponent chained Nib on my 5th summon. I Barone negated, and then he chained Veiler, targeting the Barone de Fleur. It really do be like that sometimes. Ironically, I would become friends with that round 8 opponent. He finished 32nd, which was the invite cutoff. I finished 41st out of around 280 participants. The best part about Yu-Gi-Oh! Events is being able to go with your friends and spend time with them before, during, and after the events conclude. We embarked on our routine and consumed IHOP before the regional began both times and concluded both events by getting Korean barbecue. It was a lot of fun and very delicious, especially the chicken nuggies. While I know that I still have miles to go as a player, I know that I am moving in the right direction. Countless hours of playtesting in a multitude of shops against a multitude of decks piloted by a wide variety of skilled players have forced me to push myself to new heights in terms of skill level as a player. While I did not manage to attain my invite in 2023, I do feel hopeful for not only myself and my competitive future, but for the future of the Swo army. As for Sword Soul as a deck, I do believe it is heavily underrated as a strategy by most competitive players with any accolades or online presence. I'm not going to argue that it is the best deck, as I am not naive. However, with the right pilot, in the right format, with the right abilities, playing the right tech cards, this deck definitely can be a competitive contender. It has been actual years since I have felt so much confidence in a deck. Not since the banning of Trident have I felt so energized, excited, and ready to play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. There's just something about this deck that just clicks with me. Maybe it's due to how linear it can be, but also how much variation the playlines can have. Obviously, going first, there is a normal Yugioh plus level 10 line that is optimal in almost every case. However, the sequence of your extenders, the Tennis and Longyon, Sacred Summit if you play it, can alter your playlines quite a bit if you happen to be interrupted. Another realization about Sword Soul that isn't applicable to almost any other deck is that your defensive cards are also very much cross-categorical. The fact that your monster hand traps are tuners means that even your defensive cards can double as extenders. Either Ashuna or Vishuddha plus Valor equals a Yugioh, and Ashuna plus Ash or Vishuddha plus Ash is any of your level 10 synchros. Obviously, normal summoning a hand trap as opposed to normal summoning a Moye is quite suboptimal, but the fact that it can get you into your plays is a net positive for the deck. I truly could talk about this deck all day long and not become bored of doing so. There are just so many decision trees, card choices, theoretical concepts, and much technical play involved when piloting Sword Soul. All those ingredients make for a very rewarding experience when playing it. However, on the flip, this deck does have its fair share of weaknesses. Obviously, Nibiru being in the format is a constant threat that must be considered when going to a bigger event. Proceeding with Longyon to make Barone is the more obvious choice to out Nibiru, but the Tenny line into Chaofeng feels a little less telegraphed. Leading with the Tenny line into Chaofeng allows you to preserve your normal summon and your Longyon for later in the turn so you can play uninterrupted. As for targeted negation and interruption, Heavenly Dragon Circle invalidates most of these. The problem is that you have to open Heavenly Dragon Circle. Opening Longwan or access to it is also an out to Imperm or Valor, albeit a much more consistent out. The possibility of Impulse into Fire Engine into Preventer on turn 0 means that you have to be quite wary of your sequencing and how you play through a Book of Moon Moye. It makes Ecclesia very risky to lead with. Impulse will get Fire Engine, and on Res of Moye, Fire Engine will summon Preventer, and Book of Moon the Moye on your turn, which can pretty much end your turn. This interaction specifically made me convinced to play Heavenly Dragon Circle over Vessel at the December 2nd Regional. The deck does struggle a bit against back row decks like Labyrinth. You have to play very carefully to efficiently play through Welcome, Lady popping a card, big Welcome bounces, the existence of D-Barrier, and other traps. Fortunately, there can be only one in Gozen match. We're just limited on the January Forbidden and Limited list, so those cards will not remain as much of an issue for the deck. All of that being said, I do feel very proud of myself for the success and almost regional invites that I could have attained. I got as close as humanly possible to getting my invite as I could have without actually getting it while having a great time with friends along the way. My goal for 2024 is to finally get my invite, and I will very likely continue to try to attain my invite with Sword Soul. To cap this video off, I would just like to say thank you to Kazuki Takahashi for inventing such a wonderful concept that would turn into such a great card game that truly would change my life. I have so many wonderful friends because of this game, people who I absolutely would not know otherwise, and I don't think I can put into words how great this game is and how meaningful the impact of it has been on my life.
Didn't even get to cross.